They have to have zoning
Yeah.
before they can, besides they pursue all the different things.
And we're
Yeah, true,
live.
but then they would be
We're
going,
live, everybody.
let me just double check. But the seeker
Okay.
wouldn't want, you want it to be coordinated.
So,
Hi. What's going on? It's good to see you.
How are you? I need your friend. Don't ask any questions. Oh.
That's it.
bring it, if I don't
Thank you so
add
much.
that,
Or do they have to
either add that or follow up.
Yeah, I'm still thinking, you know, it's not permissible by special use permit. Sometimes for something is not coming. Now they will have a special use permit.
Okay,
So maybe there's another way around it.
okay. All right. Well, that's still,
But still, you should know that.
okay,
Yes, okay. But yeah, I'll jump in.
okay.
Are we gonna address the 44 Charles Cummings too?
That's what we.
No, we're not. It's a building permit only. It's administrative.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Hopefully for them, it'd be nice.
There's an updated schedule for your.
Oh,
There's an updated schedule. Yeah.
All right. No, sir. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 14th Village of Pauling Planning Board meeting. My name is Mark DeWalzel, and what I'd like to start the meeting first is, Lou, would you mind giving us the honor to lead us in the pledge? Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order is the approval of the last minutes. Do I hear a motion to,
I move we approve the minutes of March 10th as amended by Amanda last week.
and do I get a second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The first project up on the agenda is 48 East Main Street. Now, that project is located in the New York City watershed, so I'm going to recuse myself from this item. And I'm going to ask Lou, if you don't mind, to take the lead on this.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lou.
Good evening, everyone. Kurt,
hello there.
you're up. Want to take the floor and give us a presentation, please?
All right. Well, I think you're all fairly familiar with the project here. We relocated the building at the suggestion of the planning board, so this is where it lands, and we're before the zoning board of appeals for various area variances regarding setbacks, garden walls, building frontage, things like that. So we did have a site walk with them, and I believe we have a public hearing next week with the zoning board of appeals. So basically, this is what the site plan looks like. It's very much the same as what you looked at the previous meetings. And I think Ella has issued a review letter on this. There's a few items on that I think that I've gone over with the engineer for the project that basically we can resolve very quickly for the board. Get that into the next submission. We have made some just minor detailing information, differences with the project, just adding some brackets, adding cupolas, and some trim details, just to kind of get a little bit more in the feeling of the village. And as you can see, our trees that we're proposing here kind of do create that little bit of an LA feeling coming down East Main Street. You know, when they mature, they'll get along there, so they'll give that some visual breaks. And I think the next step probably is if this board can do their seeker determination towards that direction, so that we can get a determination from the zoning board, and then come back here for final site plan approval.
So you've been before the ZBA?
Yes, we have.
Speaking about parking and what, and so.
It's parking and area variances that
Have
we
they
need.
come up with a determination on anything yet? Have we granted anything?
They can't really do anything. There's a public hearing next week,
Okay.
and then I think this board needs to do their seeker determination so that the zoning board can act
Then you go
on the
back to the
variances. Correct, Karen?
We do have to do our secret determination, but this board also has not held its public hearing on the
Right.
project.
So-
That's the number one thing we have to do.
Okay, so you have anything to discuss before we set that, or?
I mean, Labella's comments were purely engineering based. I think with the project just got a little stymied by the whole parking local law change. And so now we're back to,
Yeah.
you know, it went to the ZBA a little sooner than it normally would have, out of order with when a public hearing might have been set.
Yes.
So that, I would recommend that the board set a public hearing, but I don't want to stop any conversation ahead of.
No, I don't have anything else other than to, set the public hearing and hear what the public has to say.
Well-
Do you have anything that you want to add?
I would just like to, I hope you all know me. I'm Hannah. I'm the attorney here this evening. And my question would be, now that we are missing one member, I think it's a 5-member board, so do we even have a quorum to be able to proceed to vote, to set a
No,
public
we're not
hearing?
going to do any voting. We're just going to set the public hearing, correct? We have to vote on that, or?
That takes a motion and a vote.
No, then
So,
I thought we could set the public hearing.
Yeah, I mean.
and the same thing with seeker is
Seeker
normally
for
we could,
sure, but we
Oh, for
weren't ready
seeker,
for
for
that,
sure. I
yeah.
thought we can get the public hearing at
We
least
could-
scheduled and going.
and we can be, we'll be ready at the next meeting to discuss, the next steps in seeker and set the public hearing. It'll take at least 2 more meetings to get through that, and then at that point, with a seeker determination, maybe you can move forward with approval at the ZBA. So I'm imagining at least 2 more meetings if we could wrap
Yeah, we do. I wait.
seeker and set the public hearing in May.
Unfortunately, we've already missed a few meetings due to quorum
I guess that's how-
not having it. It's just,
Is
it
this-
really is a hardship.
Because with that, the water.
Do we normally have 3 members? Well, just because there's a recusal this time, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Does he have to recuse himself?
Yeah,
of
is that
setting a
really
public
necessary?
hearing date? I mean, that doesn't seem like it's something that can be.
I guess
If he has
I didn't know
recused.
if setting the public hearing is, it's necessary.
It requires a vote by the board. So we could set a special meeting to set the public hearing, if the board
Then
is
that's
open to
probably
doing
what
that.
we should do.
Rob is in Wisconsin,
So he probably won't make it.
so he can't make the meeting now. We can't wait that long.
So we could set a special meeting for next, well, it's 10 days
Yeah,
notice,
we have
isn't
to
it?
give the notice, right? We don't have enough time.
So if we give a notice tomorrow,
If, just a question, I don't know, just procedurally, can Mark, if it's not really, doesn't really pertain to any voting on the project, just setting a public hearing, would he be able to?
I would not advise that. And I know there have been some procedural issues with other boards in other towns, very similar, related to this, and a lacking quorum decisions made that can be overturned very easily if there was a suit. Not that I'm expecting that there would be a suit, but I think it would be a safer option, definitely, for the board to set a special meeting instead, which means if today is the 14th, and we got out notice tomorrow, that would be 1, 2.
It would take us to the week of the 27th.
I mean, I do think we could get our seeker determination draft documents out for review and potentially have the public hearing and the seeker
That would be great.
determination at the
Same
same
night.
meeting.
Yes.
You know, it's up to the
We could-
board whether they want to do that or not based on the draft.
Yes, we do.
But there's no difficulty in preparing that documentation, and then if the public hearing happens and nothing outlandish occurs during the public hearing to change their opinions.
So we could plan for potentially a part 2 and part 3 at the next meeting in May, and then in June, doing potentially a negative declaration, and,
I think we
Public
could do it
hearing.
all at once.
Yeah.
but we'd have to set the public hearing still.
Well, I'm saying whenever the public hearing is when we would do the
Oh, to
secret
close.
determination.
Correct.
Same night.
Correct.
Yeah,
So I guess we could do the May meeting for the public hearing.
yeah. Then you
And
won't
then you-
last any time anyway.
Correct.
If we set a special meeting
But
to
you
set the
still
public
have to set a
hearing.
special meeting
To
set-
have, right, to set the public hearing for the May meeting.
Yes.
So I'm looking at April 29th for that. That's a Wednesday.
That's
That's
fine,
the
fine with me.
soonest we could do.
You better call your friends.
And that would just be a quick in and out, probably.
I would not
Yeah.
come for that meeting.
That's
I
fine.
don't believe it would be
I'm gonna
necessary.
show them
Just
how
to set the
turn
public
yours around.
hearing.
Yeah, it's just a motion and a vote.
I mean,
Right.
I feel like we need to know if he's gonna be here.
Right now again. Bear with me, everybody.
That's okay. Is there a fifth member of the board, or we only have 4 members now?
There's 5 now.
Mike,
As of
Mike is
last
not
month.
being here.
Oh, okay.
We'll be good. Hang on.
We'll be good? Okay, we'll be, okay. So it's got April 29th?
April 29th, and we're gonna set a time, I guess it's your usual time, 6:30.
Usual time, 6:30.
29, and then can we get a notice out for this tomorrow, Amanda?
Yep. Yes, we can.
6:30. Okay, so at that meeting, we will set the public hearing, and then at the normal May meeting, wrap seeker, hold the public hearing, and maybe, depending on what the board finds, discuss an approval?
Okay. And then we'll have to go back
Well,
to
we
the,
can't do a site plan approval till they go to the ZBA.
yeah, because we have to go back to the
with their
ZBA
variance.
once we get the
But we can
secret.
do the secret determination and hold the public hearing, open and close.
Interesting. Is that per the code?
Yeah, because they need the variances
Yeah.
before a site plan approval can be made. It all wraps together, like you need the special use, if there was a special use permit need, you need all those things. The site plan is the final.
Right,
go.
of course, that's not, I've seen it different in other towns, so I'm surprised to hear that. I've seen boards grant a site plan and then send them to the ZBA to
Well,
grant the
that's
variance.
since
Really?
it's not this is a coordinated review.
Right, for seeker, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
If there's any legal way to do it faster, I'm up for it, but that's usually the way this town or village
interesting.
does
Okay.
things.
Because
No,
we're
that's-
doing the secret for the variances too.
I'm not here to overturn the apple cart,
Okay.
so that sounds fine.
But
So to set the record straight, now we have a special meeting on April 29th,
So, yes, Yep.
6:30.
6:30.
Do we have to have a motion or anything like that, or is that, how does that work?
We're just gonna set it.
Okay.
But actually, well, we probably need an additional member to set the special
Exactly.
meeting.
But that's
not
I'm a little
specific to-
confused.
But that's,
But it's not
that's,
specific to this application.
right.
So
that's
we'll,
board business.
at the
You can be here
end
for
of the
that.
meeting, then we'll set the special meeting.
Okay.
All right. Anything else anyone's got?
I assume you'll come with the, like, you'll address the Labella stuff.
Oh, yeah, that'll go in for the May meeting, we'll make that submission.
Okay. And then I have a very silly question.
Yes, go ahead.
I noticed you moved the handicap spot further away from the door.
No, it's actually per the site. It's actually here, so the door is here.
Okay, some of the drawings have it.
Yeah, it was the old location because we actually, when we relocated the building, we flipped it.
Got it, okay.
So this is the front entrance and the spot is here.
All right,
So it is close.
just curious. Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, good.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Guess we can get, he was eavesdropping. Is this mine to you? Can I use
Yeah.
Okay. The next application is up is 2-4 Elm Street.
Good evening.
So, a couple of months ago, we introduced this project to you at a sketch conference, and now it's being reintroduced in a more formal manner. This is our site plan, and just to bring you up to speed, this is our existing structure. It's currently on the lot, and this is our proposed structure. The existing structure has a number of pre-existing non-conforming issues that we'll have to get variance for. And the new structure also has its own handful of non-conforming area setback variances that will need to be solved. The biggest change from the last presentation was the parking. I think originally we had proposed 32 spaces, or 30 spaces. Nonetheless, we are aware that local law was adopted recently. It's 1.5 spaces per unit. We have 8 dwellings and 16 dwellings for a total of 24 times 1.5 is 36. We are providing 38. So I'm confident that meets your requirements for parking, hopefully. The configuration of the lot more or less has stayed the same from the last presentation. The existing curb cut is to remain, albeit widened. We have introduced parking along this roadway. There is another roadway here, almost creating a courtyard between the existing and the proposed structure. This aisle is 26 feet for fire access, aerial apparatus access specifically. And this aisle here is another single row of parking before meeting, this is the line of the 100-foot adjacent buffer area from the wetland that's currently existing on the lot. The wetland has been flagged and certified by DEC. You should have record of that. And that's pretty much the essence of what we're proposing here. I'd love to hear your feedback. So please, by all means, if you have any questions or comments.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
No, go ahead.
Sorry. You said we should have record of the DEC flagging it?
Yes, the survey has been updated to include a DEC certification of the wetland.
Like, since I released this memo, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so it'd be part of your next submission?
Forgive me. Before we received your memo on Friday, as filed on March 24th, was a survey prepared by Robert Oswald. And if I may, the survey itself bears the DEC stamp, correct? Yeah, so
Oh, okay. Is that Robert Oswald?
Robert Oswald prepared the survey, but that survey was provided to DEC.
Okay.
And they certified it and stamped it.
Okay. I think one of our comments was to provide the stamp survey. I don't think a stamp survey should be provided. That's number 3. Okay. Yeah.
That was certified by, it was a
Okay.
statement certified by your consultant, Mike Nowicki, for the wetlands, and then it was stamped and sealed by the licensed surveyor.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry. I must have missed that.
Don't be sorry, it's
So,
I apologize.
but I don't know if is that the acknowledgement date by the state? I don't know. I can't read that, but this would be bigger. Right?
But that's not the original survey, right?
No, that's just a copy, so. I'm not sure about that date statement, whether that's the acknowledgement stamped by the state, or is that just the certification by the consultant? And then obviously the land surveyor is certifying to the locations of the flags. The consultant placed the flags. That's a certification stamp that goes to DEC. I'm just not, I can't read what those other two.
I think that's
Roads
Sarah
are.
Polkowitz.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she's-
our contact at DEC.
Yeah,
DEC, so
okay.
she-
That's the staff member that signed it. That's
Okay,
her
so
signature.
that's what that is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed this. I did
Yeah.
not see that.
No problem.
Okay, that's good. So I didn't mean to cut you
yeah,
off there.
that takes care of the wetland. Any other?
So,
My question was gonna be, I'm sure you've already gone through this specifically, and I only have a tiny version of my map. Oh no, I actually have a big version of my map now. Does this table describe every variance you're gonna be looking for?
I thought it did, but in reviewing Karen's comments, the rear yard also requires variance.
Okay, and this includes variances that you'll be needing from the urban regulations as well?
I believe so, yes, to the best of my knowledge. And if there's something that I'm missing, which Karen outlined in her memo, then it will be updated to include that.
Okay.
Let me ask the same question Howard said. You mentioned some non-conforming uses in the original building. Was I correct on that?
Well, so, not uses, but there are some
Non-conformities.
non-conformities in the existing building. For
Right.
instance, it's 4 stories.
Okay.
That's the big one. The setback, that it's not, because it is a B1 zone,
Right.
abutting an R zone, by, according to ordinance, I'm supposed to be on the property line, but clearly I'm not. That's another one. The side yard setback, I believe, is another one. I'm supposed to be 25 feet from a property line that abuts a residential zone, here I'm greater than 25 feet. So I think, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but a lot of the variances that are being sought for the new building also need to be provided for the existing building for the same reason.
So if you go before the ZBA and you're asking for variances from the original building, what are you gonna do if they deny you variances? What are you gonna do with the building? I'm confused. Why are you seeking variance of a building that you already have?
Can I jump in for a moment?
Yes.
What happens is when you have a pre-existing non-conforming building and you're
Right.
changing the lot,
Are you
then you're
changing the
required
lot?
to get
Okay.
variances.
So we're not talking about the building itself, we're talking about the lot. We're changing the lot.
Well, the lot shape is staying the same, but they're changing what's happening on the lot, right? They're coming back in front of us for changes to the overall site. And because of that, we need to legalize the fact that their existing building is non-conforming.
So we're gonna bring the non-conforming building to conformity.
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
Yeah, so that's my big question here, is this property. So you have a legal, non-conforming lot that you're expanding on, right? So.
Use.
Expanding the use, sorry, expanding the use. So now, that to me is a ZBA issue, besides the area variances. However, this is, I believe it's a permissible use by a special use permit.
Yes.
And so the assumption I have is because it's, I'm going to call it grandfathered in or an existing non-conforming use, that it has a special use permit. If not, you're going to be requesting that
For the existing.
for the property itself and the expansion. All that will be not only the old, but the new.
That makes sense.
And so that's going towards, and that will have to be noted on the drawing, and that will have to go to the ZBA.
ZB. So,
For-
may I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Response?
Right.
So, there are a lot of things here. There's planning, there's ZBA, and there's special use. Does the special use permit get granted through the ZBA?
No,
Yeah, I think,
Is that a separate board altogether?
yeah.
no. The special use permit gets granted by the planning board.
Okay.
Can I walk us back a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Okay, so just to be really clear, what Lou was talking about was non-conforming bulk and dimensional aspects of the site plan. What Mark is talking about is non-conforming use. And so what he's getting at is that in the B1 district, we are not allowed to have fully multifamily developments unless they get a special use permit.
Understood.
This development, this multifamily building, I assume pre-exists the 1995 code or the amendment thereto in 2014 or 2018 that required, I know this is going, but that required the B1
Right.
to have mixed-use buildings, okay? So the question that stands is this. Multifamily is permitted without without being in a mixed-use building, if it has a special use permit. So it's pre-existing, is it, because it's pre-existing, is it assumed to have this special use permit? Or is it a pre-existing non-conforming use that's now being expanded? In my experience, it's the former, not the latter, that it's presumed to be legal because it's pre-existing, it's legal, pre-existing, non-conforming.
Except that, as you said, there's new development now on the lot.
Right.
So I think that pushes it out of the pre-existing nonconformity and means that probably you would need to seek, I'll confirm this for the next meeting, but I believe you would need, in addition to the variances, as you said, for this new building, now to bring the old building into compliance. It kind of knocks you, it knocks you out of the pre-existing non-conforming use. So I assume you need now area variances on this old building for whichever ones that you mentioned, as well as a special use permit.
Oh, okay, but not a use variance. They just
Well-
need to get a special use permit that covers both buildings on the site.
Have we done, I mean, is that usually what the village does, is grant a use variance if you have no, it's a special use permit.
No, yes, I do not
Use
think it should be a
variance.
use variance. I'm just
Correct.
clarifying
I
that
agree.
it's a special use permit that would now cover the entire site, not just the back building.
Yes,
All encompassing.
which you've already, is that what you applied for? Or you applied for a special use permit specific to the new building?
So the intention was to apply for a special use permit for the new building and to only seek area and bulk variances needed for the existing building to be up to compliance.
But that's because you didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, I
Right,
didn't know,
yeah.
that was just the premise I was
Right.
operating under.
Right,
But now, as I understand it, we'll have to seek area and bulk variances for the existing building, area and bulk variances for the proposed building,
yep,
and a special use permit
for the
for the
entire,
entire site.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And the special use permit comes from the planning board, not the zoning board. That was your original
And
question.
how does that, can we parallel these processes?
Well,
Or is it a linear?
no, they do run concurrent to some degree because this would be a coordinated review, or at least we would recommend it be that, because the variances are tied to the site plan action. So what I mean by coordinated is that we do, the planning board does a state environmental quality review for all of the actions all together in one environmental form. And it's a sequence of events similar to what you kind of heard with 48 East Main. The planning board would have to make a determination on the likelihood of significant adverse environmental impacts. And if their determination was that there were none, then the variances could be granted, assuming that the ZBA board also finds that they are reasonable per their variance rationale. And then you come back to the planning board again for site plan approval, but actually for special use permit approval, and then the site plan approval is the very last part.
Okay, second.
So it kind of bounces back and forth between the boards, and we try to,
So from you to ZBA, back to you for, what was, for special use, and then after special use, the site plan approval is the last step.
right, so planning board seeker, ZBA, area variances, planning board, special use permit, and site plan. But in between all that are some public hearings that have to happen,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, so,
But the good news is, the environmental review, once there's in a coordinated review with a lead agency, that means that the planning board, if they end up being lead agency, will review the environmental impacts of all of it. They won't have to be a separate environmental review for the variances at the ZBA.
okay.
So what would be helpful, I think, probably for the board and just for me, would be to know exactly what area variances it is that need to be reviewed for both the new building and the old building, like a list, so that we can know all the area variances that are gonna be required, and then plus special use permit, and then plus the site plan.
Okay,
So we can know the whole action for the sake of the environmental review.
okay, but so that's sort of a little bit of a relief when you say, it sounds like it's, having you guys, having everything funneled through the planning board seems to like streamline everything.
Instead of having
Because
separate
it's
environmental.
one seeker, it's one
Yes.
full environmental assessment instead of two is,
Yeah.
all right, so that's helpful. Any other questions?
So on your variances,
Yes.
one item that I would make sure you look at is your square footage, because you're expanding a legal non-conforming use. So per code, if this was, you got a footprint that you got to expand, there is limits with the ZBA, I believe, on square
I
footage.
think that may not apply though,
think it's
if they're
FAR, is it
seeking
not?
the special use permit.
So circumvents that,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, because in terms, so I was thinking about this too, Mark, in terms of square footage, I think my max FAR is 2.0, and I'm well under that currently.
He's talking about something different.
Oh, okay, forgive me. May I offer something that I wanted to talk about? Because I'd like to have your input on it, please. I think, Mark, the last time we met, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you mention something about sprucing up the front of the building?
I think important part of this application will be your architectural renderings. You did provide some elevation views. Those should, I would recommend possibly be in color or provides a material board, maybe some materials like staple, whatever type of siding you're going to use, so
Of course,
people, especially in your public hearing, they can understand how it looks.
yes.
And the key thing I thought is how the new building, which is going to be very nice, blends in with the old building. How the two will look together on your property.
Okay,
Your landscaping elements, I think, I look at this as one project, one
Okay.
property. It's not just the building in the back, it's how the two blend together. So your landscaping and any improvements should benefit both. Because
okay,
again, it's how the entire property looks.
sure. They have to work in
Yeah, so again, the parking situation, it looks like, our engineer will review that. It looks like you're, meet the code, and you also meet the handicap. You're going to have a legal access issue, I think, is going to get resolved. And again, I think the appearance.
So where I was getting with this was, I was under the impression that if it wasn't you, maybe it was somebody else, had made a comment about sprucing up the front and maybe making a seating area or something. On the plans, there's a space here where our lot meets the adjacent lot, and then it seems to be public, I guess it belongs to the village, this little arc here along Oak Street. There's a utility pole here. So, considering what you or your colleague had to say, I provided, I delineated a bench and I continued a walkway that extends off of these existing steps to this bench. And in my mind, this would have been a nice seating area because it looks straight down toward the train station in Charles Coleman. But perhaps I was overextending myself and I misunderstood what you had said. So,
I mean, I will look
because
at,
that was a comment that Karen had made.
Yeah,
And-
I was
and-
like, where did this bench come
Yeah,
from?
So,
I-
Now I
well, so
understand.
I'll offer this, I'm thinking that, right, if you look at that property right now, it looks pretty, like the house itself, the existing house looks pretty nice, but the sort of walkways and stuff, like, the landscaping could definitely use a refresh, possibly even the walkways themselves, they look kind of dated concrete. So I was definitely thinking it, and certainly in a public hearing, showing, how this is improving the overall sort of look of the village, I think is a great idea. So, I mean, I don't know, there's probably a legal question about you developing on public property next door.
Yeah.
Assuming we
So
could
I wanna
resolve
mention
that.
it now.
I think you just donate a bench.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you just donate a bench to the village, and if they see fit that it belongs in that location as you have suggested it might be, then
yeah, I mean,
That's the
however we get
easiest.
to those mechanics, but I
Yeah.
think that particular corner is a great place for a bench. It's a great place to kind of just look a little nicer because it's the end of that resident, or that business section. So I'm thinking it, I'm new to this, I definitely didn't tell you this a couple months ago, but I'll tell you now. So I like where this is going, and I think it definitely supports more success at a public hearing.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. Are there any other questions or comments, or
I
maybe?
have a question. I'm a little bit back. We're talking about, I know the applicant did a lot of work on the existing building that was built in 1920, and our code went into effect in 1995. There's not one broken shingle or one faded shingle on it. They're gonna put up a new building, and we want them to sort of like blend together. I mean, are we legally required to have the existing building match the new building?
From an architectural aesthetic
Yeah, yeah.
standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, right now, the building is, let's hypothetically, the building is white and it looks great. They did a lot of improvements on it. They're gonna build a second building. Are we gonna require them to make the first building look like the second building? Can we do that legally?
I mean, I think that,
It's a great idea that everybody wants to spruce up the corner. I'm not gonna debate that, but can we legally tell them? to
I
do
think that you legally have a right to have an opinion on the architecture that's in your code for the new building. The tie-in to the existing building is that, A, the new building is located on the same lot. B, they're gonna need a variance from the ZBA to have more than one building on a lot. Remember that one, Pauling Commons
Oh,
did
yes, I
it?
remember
Okay.
that.
So I think there is some tie-in there. I mean, I think to the extent that you can require them to make aesthetic changes to an existing building, you have to be careful about how tied it is to the action that they're seeking approval for.
And I will confirm whether this is one of the considerations that is included in the code for site plans and special use permits. Because if it is, if it's one of the listed elements or considerations, then yes, you can absolutely do that.
Because I took it upon myself, I took a few pictures of some of the existing properties around that area. I know Mike, he brought up the fact that, you know, on Broad Street, you have the library, you have a bar, you have Sunflower Bakery, but this particular piece is on Elm Street. And I consider the core of the village be Charles Coleman Boulevard from Union Street to West Main Street. That's the core of the village. Everything else is sort of like the outside of the village. So if you look outside their driveway, what do you see? You're gonna look at an old post office with a bunch of dilapidated old postal vehicles. And right along Elm Street, you have other multifamily homes with cars parked in the driveway. So it's for us to insist that this particular applicant improve that original building. I just don't want to go overboard and put any undue stress and expense on them when they really don't have to.
No, I absolutely share that. Like, we don't want to make, you know, there's a, you know, in my mind at least, like, there's preference and there's the law. And the law is, you know, the special use permit and those sorts of things, right?
Exactly. And I have no problem with following
And
the law, exactly.
Preference comes from, like,
I don't want to go above and beyond what the applicant is going to be required to do.
Sure.
To get a special use permit approval. So I just want to include this, I just want to,
right, but to Mark's point,
This is-
if you have a public hearing, we have to take to Mark's point, if we have a public hearing, and we have to take that input seriously. And, I mean, some of it can be crazy, and you're like, you know, and some of it's, but in general, the aesthetics will be important in that environment, right? You know, the way that people look at it is with their eyes. They're going to look at it, they're trying to visualize what it's going to look like next. And so if our preference aligns with, you know, them having an easier time with a public hearing, I don't know that that's a bad thing to suggest. But to your point, like, it's not something I would vote on, right? I'm not going to say you need to
Because right now,
have a
I'm looking at-
$50,000 allotment of, like,
if they go
landscape
before the
improvements.
ZBA, they get all their variances granted, and, you know, they come before us and they're looking for a special use permit for the second building. I'm not gonna worry about, I'll be honest with you. I think that the building in the area that it is right now looks great, the original building.
Yeah, it does.
I have no problem with it at all. They solved the parking issue and everything else that's within our code. I'm gonna be good with the project.
Yeah, no, in general, I am too. I mean, I don't even know you're going to see this much from the street, given the.
You're not gonna see it, I don't think you're gonna see it at all.
So,
Oh,
So if
one thing I do wanna, I think we have to, and I'm glad I remember this. Easement and the license with the driveway,
Yeah, that has to be clear.
okay? Now, what's, from what I interpreted your letter, Hannah,
Yes.
is a license can can be challenged at any time for any particular reason.
30 days notice, it can be revoked
Okay,
by either
for,
party.
in this particular I'm gonna really simplify it.
Yeah,
I have a license to drive in the state of New York. I can lose my license if I do this, that, and this. Are there any stipulations with this license that either one of these parties can say, look, I don't like you for whatever, voiding the license?
for whatever reason or no reason. They can just say, we just don't want to do it anymore.
Now, who is this license between?
With the neighboring property.
The neighboring property?
I think it's the Methodist Church.
It was
The Methodist Church?
But the Methodist Church doesn't own that
No.
property anymore. So my question to you, Hannah, if I may,
Sure.
would be, is that license transferable?
I believe it would have just descended to the successor in interest, which I think is what it provides in the, I lost it under my things here. So it probably still is in force, but the concern is not that it's in force right now, but that there could be a revocation in the future, which is why an easement as opposed to a license is preferable, because they can't just be willy-nilly revoked. So that should, in theory, be fairly simple to, I can't find my paper in there, but that should be fairly simple to do. I see them done kind of even as a last minute thing or a condition of approval. That's not necessarily the preference, and I don't think the board would prefer, I suppose, without presuming I hope too much, that the board would like to see that you have a permanent access there for the property.
And how does that manifest itself, permanent access?
You need to do a private agreement with the neighbor and say that both of you agree to an easement as opposed to a license on that property.
Does it have to be an easement per se? Can it be a covenant written into the deed?
I mean, you could just purchase part of the property, but I mean, that would require a
Lot
lot
line
line
change.
adjustment.
Okay, but we have options.
You have
We talk about the neighbor to the north or to the neighbor to?
To the
To
north.
To the northeast.
To the north.
To the north.
Yeah, to the
No,
north. Let's go.
the property that shed is on that,
Yes,
that old barn.
correct. So let me go back to the site plan quick. He comes in through here.
Right.
And this actually, even though it reads as a T intersection, it's actually a full, it does this. So he comes in, it turns into his lot this way.
And there's this doesn't even include, oh no, it does include maintenance. I think the maintenance is all
The
you.
maintenance is supposed to be picked up by this gentleman if I run it up, if I.
No, the maintenance falls to this property.
I think it's
2-4?
in its entirety. And
Yeah,
then
I read that contract. It's short and it's pretty clear. I just can't find it right now.
my version is not very legible, but it's subsection 6.
Yeah,
That's the concern, that says the agreement is merely a license and may be revoked by either party at any time upon giving 30 days notice.
When was that granted?
Maintenance.
That license, when did that, when was it
1938 or something?
granted? Yeah, a long time ago.
38.
Yeah, and it's been relatively quiet since then.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been no disputes between the two property owners.
Yeah, and presumably there's mutual value, and so, you know, I mean, I do think we want to make sure that's a permanent part of the use, right? Because if that neighbor were to cancel that contract, I mean, they may or may not even know about it. Who knows if they read it when they bought it or whatever, right? Josh,
I'm so sorry.
sorry.
This is maybe a wrong.
It's-
Maybe this is the wrong thing.
See, so the driveway spills over onto this parcel.
Right, it's on both sides, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe a foot or two of the driveway falls on the adjacent neighbor's lot. The balance of the driveway is on 24 Elm Street.
Right.
So, it seems to me that the owner of 24 has the majority of the leverage here. This,
Well, but it has to be an easement is a cooperative agreement between the two parties,
yes,
right?
understood.
And so there's mutual benefit here. It depends on who the person is. I don't know the owner there, right? Presumably, you know, in a rational world, both parties see benefit to maintaining that arrangement. But it should be a better arrangement than just, because the term really is that they cancel at 30 days. So you finish this whole project, they decide that it's too loud and too annoying, they cancel that contract, now you don't have
You
access
can't
to the building.
You're trespassing.
And so now, like, you start to have fire problems, you start to have, you know, access problems for your residents, you know, like, so it's the sort of like bookkeeping that we should take care of early on.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully the owner there is a reasonable person and this is just get a lawyer involved, sign some documents, you're done in a week.
I'm
right?
not worried about working it out, and however path we choose to get there, I'm sure we'll find the way to get there. I would just, so, because the majority of the driveway falls on 24 Elm Street, in my opinion, it would not behoove the adjacent neighbor to revoke their license.
Probably
Because
not.
if they did, they would only have a 2-foot strip to ride their bike on.
Which suggests that this is going to be an even easier process for you.
Because 24 Elm has all the leverage.
But as a planning board, I think we're going to ask you to do it.
Oh, but,
Right.
and that's totally reasonable.
But hopefully you have a very reasonable person that sees mutual value and like they show up at the, it's a signature and,
Okay.
In which case you probably mutually agree to, both of you, cancel this prior license and replace it with the easement, and then you can have different, like, the shared maintenance responsibilities can be further laid out in a way that's not so vague
Yeah.
as this document.
But-
also you
So
can,
I'm assuming that this license was originally drafted for the benefit of the other applicant, of the other
Correct.
person.
Methodist Church.
Because right now, if they can go ahead with the project, because they can still use the property, with the exception of 2 feet, if this particular individual, the neighbor, said, I want to cancel this license, they can actually still use the property, they have enough room.
Is that true? You could just scoot your road in that
Well, I
much?
mean, it would require some reworking, and I have a utility pole here that sort of makes it a little crunchy, but, yeah,
If something
it got
really
down to the
goes
nitty-gritty,
downhill.
We can make it work.
Yeah, that was
The
gonna
easiest
be
thing
my
to do is get
question,
the
if you
easement.
just shift it,
I
the
thought about
driveway.
it, But it really gets tight, Karen, like uncomfortably tight.
Yeah, well, we don't want that,
Mm.
because you gotta get the trucks in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the easement though would need to be filed with the county clerk. So
Yeah,
that would be a condition of the approval.
that's fine.
I mean, it's also an opportunity to update, like there's some specific distances and surface type and like you just update all that to match what you're planning to do.
Anything else, folks?
Just make sure you have everything in easement nailed down, because we originally had a project that had an easement in front of us. It was a nightmare.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Between the two parties.
Yeah.
So make sure.
We'll probably get the ball rolling on that sooner than later, though, because, I mean, if it's just a formality, then there's no sense in sitting on it.
No, get that done.
Well, you want to make sure the easement matches your design, right? So it says here that the driveway is 136 feet long, for example. If the driveway is going to be 170 feet long because of the extension, call it out, like,
Well, the easement only extends 50 feet, so.
whatever it is, but I mean, make
I
sure
understand what
that,
you're saying.
it also specifies a road surface that hasn't existed in 75 years. So maybe, like, there's a few other things you can adjust or update to.
And I would imagine that the easement, as recorded, would need to be delineated on the survey and the site plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense to have that done.
So I think for the next submission, other than these things that we've discussed and listing that all the applicable variances, per Karen's suggestion, to update your EAF with the, what is that called, Karen?
The mapper,
Yeah,
I did that originally. I don't know how I got it to print out, but I did. Anyway, I'll take care of it.
Okay.
That's fine.
yeah, just include the back sheets.
Part 2 and 3.
No, like when you do the EAF mapper, it prints out a table at the end that summarizes,
Okay.
you'll see.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
I would just, I want to make sure that he gets the right variances. In the past, the planning board has authorized the applicant to reach out to Labella directly on some projects,
You should.
if that's suitable to you guys. Because I want to be careful that he's not asking for multiple variances. Like, for instance, this is all one lot now, right? It's one lot
That-
with 2 buildings. So it's the most egregious encroachment that needs the variance. It's not one for the new building, one for the old building, right? So I just don't want you to get stuck in the,
Oh, so what
Yeah.
you're saying is, if I'm understanding you correctly, the front yard variance I'd be asking for would be this, not that, correct?
right,
Because although this is pre-existing
Yes.
non-conforming,
right.
this is the more.
That's the more egregious, yes. Yep.
Egregious, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I would be asking for this, correct? Not this. Because in the rear yard, at 25 feet abutting residential,
Yeah,
this was
right.
one of your
It-
comments.
yep.
This would be the more egregious,
Yes,
correct? So I'm
right.
asking for this front yard and this rear yard.
Yeah. But there are other variances. So get a list together and then let's set up some time to just talk through it, like on a virtual meeting, so we can make sure we got it all straight.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
and again, for me, that's my key point. You look at this as one property. It's not just the back building, the expansion of an existing legal non-conforming use. It's together. So when you, for instance, the parking is for the entire site, front and back building. Stormwater calcs includes the new building and the old, the whole property. Same thing when I look at the landscaping. I'm looking at how it blends together. You might want to, say you propose 15 bushes by the new building, way in the back nobody can see. If they should be up in the front to make things look nicer, again, the whole building the whole property as a whole. That's what I look at.
Okay. Can I, before wrapping up here, regarding the aesthetics, can I just speak to that a moment? So the existing building is white siding, white windows, flat roof. The new building, I mean, yes, context and vernacular is important. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to that. The biggest difference, in my opinion, is the roof. Instead of having a flat roof, you see our roof, you see our gables, you see our hips. The siding will be white to match the existing building. We're looking to introduce focal points, particularly at the entry, which would just be a synthetic stucco. Light gray, nothing too dark, very soft, natural looking, something that's going to blend into this height. The garden walls would be of that same color, that same light medium gray stucco, synthetic stucco. The walkways will all be concrete. The paving will all be asphalt. Black shingle roof. And then to pay homage to the original building, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the original building has 2 points of entry at the front, 2 little porticos with an arch canopy. So this was meant to pay homage to that architectural element in the front building, in the existing building. So I'm trying to take different aspects, whether it's material or form, trying to take inspiration from the original building and apply it to a more contemporary structure. So yeah, I do appreciate and I recognize what you're saying about looking at the whole site as one cohesive project and not 2 separate structures. Is there anything else?
I'll just say that going forward, you'll want to specify the materials that you're going to use. So like siding, white siding, is it vinyl, is it hardy board, is it whatever it is?
I thought I did.
Okay, well, you may have,
It's
okay. Yeah, and sometimes the board requests material samples. Yeah,
Material board.
I anticipate that, yeah, I just thought it was premature.
yeah, agreed. Yep.
Anything else? Okay. Where do we go, can you provide a little bit of direction in terms of the next step?
Yeah, I think the next step is just to update the application, and by application, I really mean the EAF, and make a response to comments. You know, first, I get your variances set. Let's set up a call, let's go through it. At the same time, I can have the engineer on so we can, you know, walk through some of these engineering comments in case there are any questions or concerns related to that. And then you would submit to the planning board again an updated full EAF, you know, with the project description that captures, you know, the itemized area variances that you're looking for, that you need a special use permit for the entire site, and of course, site plan approval. And any other updates per the comment letter. And then, you know, that would, you know, if you got it in time for the May meeting, then we'd be at the May meeting, and, you know, the planning board could consider declaring intent to be lead agency for seeker, which would start the seeker process. They could also consider setting a public hearing if they felt like they had adequate information. And then from there, you know, I think you would be able to go ahead and submit to the ZBA, but you might just want to make sure that you're at a firm place with your site layout before you submit to the ZBA. And then it kind of goes back and forth from there. I mean, I could keep talking, but I'm
Kind
not
of
sure
like what
that.
happened with 48.
Yes, exactly.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Quickly, regarding your comments specifically to the engineering aspect of the
Mhm.
project, a lot of your comments I noticed are very specific, pipe sizes,
Yep.
specific details.
Mhm.
Typically, I see a lot of that information on actual construction documents.
Mm.
Is it, those details, that information is required now for planning board? Isn't it a little premature?
Not from our standpoint. We think that that data is necessary to adequately confirm the engineering is sound.
Okay. Would you like
I mean,
to-
if you want to,
I just want to have a question.
This is John Malazzi, he's the civil engineer.
Okay.
He's the civil engineer.
I mean,
We,
sorry, let me just say one other thing. I mean,
Yes.
you are welcome to say as a response, this will be provided as part of a future submission. You know, and we could weigh it from there. You know, we do that in our applications to, for instance, the town of Poughkeepsie asked us for the moon at the first meeting, and we know we're not gonna have that a lot of times, and so we say we'll have it as part of a future submission. But I'm not a civil engineer, so I can't answer specific engineering questions.
no, I don't want to answer,
Yeah.
I don't want to bring the engineering,
Okay.
I just have a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, my name is John Malazzi, I'm a civil engineer for this project.
Nice to meet
The
you.
question is, because I do have an answer to the letter that I saw that.
Yeah.
But it's not, I agree with everything they asked for. However, that's what we're gonna provide. The fact is though, if you don't approve the project, what are you doing? The entire design, at what level that you're looking for? I give you a level saying, we're gonna treat all the stormwater on site, that's what the drawings that I gave you. We're gonna treat it for quantity and quality. And we did some exploration on the site and all that. Okay, that's as far as I give you. Now, if you want all the details, that's something that it's required when we provide the design drawings for when the permit is taken.
Okay, so let me.
Do you want that from me? I mean, that's a question, not the technical part.
So let me respond. So, you know, some things we want now, and I'll let our engineer push those. This is a full review, which is just how we approach projects. You know, we're not gonna kind of spit it out in parts, right? We're giving you what we think now. I completely agree, it's costly to do detailed design. They should not advance detailed design until they think they really have a project.
Right.
Wait till you go to the ZBA, make sure there's an appetite there for the project, and then you can continue to progress the design.
Okay.
So that's where you're gonna say, response will be provided as part of a future submission. And then ultimately, we may end up with 5 or 6 things that we can say will be a condition, you know, resolving engineering comments are a condition of the approval. But, you know,
Yeah.
it's not to your advantage for us to keep our comments inside if they're really, you know, if there's something that matters to us. So, you know, I do think we should have this meeting and, you know, we can have our engineer point out
Yeah.
what they need to know now, and we can push off the rest until it makes more sense to
Sure,
spend that
no,
time.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You need to know
Yeah.
that what we provided makes sense for
Yes,
you.
yep.
And we need to know what to provide you so that we don't do the final design and then we don't get the project.
Right. Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll just say, like, for instance, the stormwater collection and treatment portion,
Yes.
that is dependent on the proposed development. So if you
Yeah.
go through the process and you show later on that you can't provide that type of treatment or disposal, but if you can't, then you got to cut back your impervious surfaces, you got to reduce your parking, which then is going to reduce the square footage of your building to support that, or you reduce the number of units. So there's a back and forth there. And
No,
for me,
I
that's,
agree with you.
for me, that's part of the site element approval, which is site plan, and it's not part of the building permit application, that's inside. But as she said, you can say what you're gonna deal with later, especially after you get the ZBA's input.
Yeah, because I do have, you know, to answer you on that, I do have all the question answered already. When I did this, I already have, just I didn't put it all together because I didn't know what you needed.
Yeah.
I could put it all together, but just because I've done it already.
Yeah, okay, I think think we'll get to a
Okay.
good place.
So special use permit for two
In-
residential structures?
The
For the
entire
prop-
site.
For the property.
Yes, yes.
It's one property.
Yes, and a variance for having two structures on one lot, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
amongst others.
amongst others,
Yes.
yes, but I just
Yeah,
want to make sure.
I gave you, yeah, and I think I quoted the section of the
You
code,
captured
yeah.
it, Yes. Okay, folks.
Do you know off the top of your head, Karen, whether this needs 239M referral?
No, I checked it off in my
No?
memo. No,
Oh.
it does not.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry. No, it does not need a referral.
And why is that? There's a-
So what she's referring to is
County
General
planning.
Municipal Law 239 requires a referral to county planning for their review on projects that are within 500 feet and qualify some other criteria, by some other criteria, within 500 feet of a county or state road, county or state-owned property, and so on and so forth. But your property is not within that 500 feet, so you don't need the referral.
It's complicated. All right. Anything else? This was,
Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. This
Okay.
was really constructive, so I appreciate it. And thank you, Karen, for offering the opportunity to speak to you directly, because
Sure.
that will help move things.
Yeah.
So, thank you. I really appreciate your help.
Okay. I guess next,
Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
the next item is other business. Sharon, do we have?
We should move to have a special meeting on the 29th.
Oh,
Oh,
We're gonna be
Good
having
one.
a
Good
special
one.
meeting on the 29th.
okay. Do I have I can call for that, right? 'Cause you guys, I can help
You
vote
don't
on
even
the
need to
special
vote.
meeting.
yeah.
So you guys want to have a special meeting? Do I hear it first?
Yes, first.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? Aye. And then we can
Did
just,
you specify when you just did that motion, the time and place certain?
6:30 PM in this room.
On,
Wednesday,
April 29th.
and approved.
Yes, and the agenda for that is setting a public hearing for 48 East
48
Main.
East Main.
Okay.
now, you guys tell me different, but I don't think I'm needed for that meeting, and I would rather not.
I mean, that seems very technical. We just
Yeah, that's gonna.
Get together.
That should be pretty easy.
Is that okay?
that is okay.
Okay.
You probably,
I'm happy to attend. Do you need my assistance?
to set a public hearing at that meeting.
And we're not
So
doing
my-
anything with secret at that point, we're just
Just
setting
setting
the
a
public
meeting.
Yeah, it's
That
just,
should be pretty cut and dry.
I mean, I
And-
would have her call in, so she's,
Yeah,
I'm
happy to do
sorry.
that.
That's
Or I'm
probably
happy
good.
to be here.
yeah, either just
So my
cost of escrow.
question for that,
fine.
that's for 48 East Main.
Right.
Right.
So
Set a
it's
public
just setting a public hearing, so then,
Which should be
so that we have
probably
to have,
coincident with our May meeting date, right?
But you have to have a quorum,
You
so
have
we
to
have to
have a
make sure
quorum.
that,
I'll make sure he's here.
Well, Mike Renders is just away this week.
That's right, okay, good.
He'll be here too, so we
Yeah.
shouldn't have an issue with the
so if it's
quorum.
just setting the meeting,
You can't do it.
no, I know that, but I'm just, okay. I'm just trying to say the attorney. Because it's not open?
I mean, all of the meetings are open
Open.
to the public.
Yes, it is a public, and it's going to be noticed as other meetings would be noticed.
So then
You have to do the whole
we have to have a
rigmarole.
consultant. Well,
I think village administration would appreciate
yeah, I
having
think
people
you should,
here.
you would either
And
attend
I-
or,
yeah.
yeah, attend. And it should be less than a half hour,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
but I will not be here.
Let's say 15 minutes.
I bet we can do 5.
Right,
We'll have-
so he won't be here on the 29th, right. He's setting it, but he won't be here, yes.
We'll make sure we have it.
We'll get it. So then another other business is the meeting schedule. A couple dates needed to be changed to be sure that they're on the second Tuesday of the month. There's,
Okay,
I'll specify which
So-
dates I have here. So the July meeting is going from July 7th to the 14th. The August meeting is going from August 4th to the 11th. And the October meeting is going from October 6th to the 13th.
Okay.
So I've given you all schedules of that, and they will be available in these minutes as well. So we just need to approve this change in
Okay.
schedule.
I move we approve the schedule changes as amended here.
All
Second.
right, second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you for doing that,
Yep.
Amanda. That's very nice.
And if I have a call to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thank you very much.